Hello, it is Friday, yay, and we're going to talk about our do now. Researchers are studying lichens, which is a little plant that grows on trees in a forest ecosystem. At the beginning of the study, the researchers identified 12 species in the forest. Later, a forest fire happened in the study area. The researchers returned to the area and found only 6 lichen species. Which inference is best supported from the researchers' observation? Most lichen species are unaffected by forest fires. The biodiversity in the forest increased after the fire. Certain lichen species are better adapted to survive forest fires than others, or forest fires will permanently remove certain species from the ecosystem. Well, let's look. We had a forest fire. There were 12, and when we came back, there were 6 left. Most were unaffected. 6 is half. That's not most. The biodiversity. Did we even talk about that? No. Certain species are better adapted to survive. Well, that might be true, so let's hold that thought. And D, forest fires permanently remove species from the ecosystem. It did. Well, it removed them. We just don't know if it's permanent, so the word permanent is the problem. So I would say certain species, lichen species, are better adapted to survive forest fires than others. Okay, so here we go. In our targets, we're going to describe the process of natural selection and the short and long-term impact it has on species. I will witness and analyze the effects of natural selections using a simulation. I can define natural selection, I can define adaptation, I can define variation, I can define fitness or best fit, and I can give examples of natural selection. So here's moving on. You're going to want to click on this video in the slide link to watch a little brain pop video about Charles Darwin and the finches. So Darwin was a naturalist who studied plants and animals throughout the southern hemisphere, so that's anything south of the equator, as he traveled on a ship. And these little red lines are where he went to. He observed that animals on the Galapagos Islands, this little set of islands here, were similar yet not identical to the plants on the mainland. So one of the animals Charles Darwin studied was a small bird called a finch. He noticed that not only were the finches different from the ones in South America, but they were slightly different from each other. He observed that their finches differed from each other mainly in the shape of their beaks and the food they ate. The beaks of the finches are adaptations to the different foods they eat and the way they obtain food. These adaptations came about through natural selection. Well, that's all correct. And let's take a look at that. Look at these. So if buds and fruit, grubs, kind of had to dig. Tool using finch, yep. Insects, thinner, and leaves, be able to tear. And this guy ate seeds. So that's interesting. They all changed, okay, as this goes on. The next thing we'll talk about is variation. Variation or differences in features that naturally occur within a species. If you look here, same species, maybe size or a marking might change slightly. That's kind of cool. An adaptation, though, is a physical feature or behavior that helps an organism survive to get food, protect itself, move, or reproduce. Organisms with favorable adaptations have a better chance of getting the resources they need. Note, such traits, such as beak shape or neck length, are physical features. Let me take a look here. Oh, so we're going to talk about, this is actually slides 12 in your notebook. So you're going to want to have your slide notebook open there and go back and watch that again so you can see or look at the video. Okay. Structural adaptations are physical features that have developed over time to help an organism survive in its environment. Narrow beaks, which could probe for insects, long legs that would walk through deep snow, or sharp teeth, which is tearing a part of the prey. Examples are like this hare, the Arctic hare, kind of like that simulation you did. You know, depending on which situation you used, the rabbit had a better chance of survival. Or mimicry, here's the king snake and the coral snake, okay? And an interesting thing, a coral snake, you see where it's red and yellow right next to each other? That's red and yellow, kill a fellow. Red and black, got your back, Jack. So this is the one that's really dangerous, and the red and the yellow are touching. Behavioral adaptations are a way they act to help it survive. This can be instinctive or learned. Instinctive would be a bird performing a mating dance to attract a mate, but a learned behavior is a raccoon opening a container searching for food. Raccoons did not typically know how to open the garbage can and go looking. They had to learn that. Okay. Physiological adaptations are physical, which allows an organism to perform special functions within the body. Like this little blue frog, he produces a poison through his skin, but this guy puffs up when he's threatened by a predator. Natural selection is the process by which organisms that are better suited for their environment are more likely to survive and reproduce. Some traits can be inherited. Organisms have natural variation, so like those slight changes in the moth. One might be better adapted to the environment or more fit, and the best fit will most frequently survive and reproduce. Go to my next slide. What would happen to the cactus finch then if all the cactus in a certain area died? Well, the cactus finch would not have food and it would not survive. Okay, that's survival of the fittest. And the finches that have adaptations for eating other types of food would survive, and they would pass those traits on to their offspring because they'd be the only ones left to breed. Okay, so we had some things like the dromedary camel, the Bactrian camel, and the llama. There at one point was a land bridge here putting both of these together. So they traveled up South America, through the U.S. along the coast, across the land bridge, and where they settled here in the warmer parts of Asia and Africa. And they crossed the Isthmus of Panama. They reached these different places, and they evolved independently. Their adaptations suited them to each environment where they lived. Due to natural selection, descendants of the original camel came to these adaptations as the need arose where they lived. So now you're going to go into your My Apps, and you're going to click on Gizmos right there. And you're going to complete the moth gizmo and the answer slide. So these are slides 6, 12, and 13 in your notebook. If you have extra time, you can check your grade in Schoology. And if you're missing something, work on it. And as always, review Unit 5 vocabulary with this Ecology Quizlet. And again, this link will be available in the notes, in the slides for you to work on today. All right. I hope you all have a great afternoon, and we will see you all on Monday.